stole this Rolls-Royce! Arrest him now!
It's my car. I have the keys right here.
Oh no!
They said I stole the car. It wasn't a question. It was a declaration. A $450,000 Rolls-Royce Phantom, gleaming in Arctic white under the harsh morning sun, parked silently in front of the house I had just purchased. And there she stood, the HOA president. She was a caricature of suburban authority. Clutching her clipboard like a weapon, her diamond tennis bracelet glinting dangerously as she narrowed her eyes at me. To her, I wasn't a neighbor. I was a glitch in her matrix. She didn't ask if I owned it. She didn't introduce herself. She simply accused me, right there in front of 20 gawking neighbors with their iPhones out, recording what they hoped would be my downfall. Her finger, manicured to a lethal point, jabbed toward the Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament as she dialed 911. Her voice dripped with that specific kind of certainty. The certainty that someone wearing a gray hoodie and faded jeans couldn't possibly belong in a world of manicured lawns and seven-figure mortgages. She had no idea who I was. No idea what I did for a living. No idea that her assumption was about to cost her everything. And honestly, part of me, the dark, petty part that had worked 80-hour weeks for a decade, wanted to let her keep digging that hole until she hit bedrock. It started at the gate. The entrance of Riverside Oaks opened slowly, dramatically, like it was deciding whether I was worthy of entry. I guided the Phantom through, the white paint catching every ray of morning light, the V12 engine barely whispering a sound. That's the thing about a Rolls-Royce. It doesn't roar. It glides. It has presence without noise. The guard in the booth had checked my papers twice. He held my driver's license up to the sunlight, squinting for holograms, looking for counterfeits, then made a phone call that lasted entirely too long. His eyes kept flicking from me to the car, then back to the contract in his hand. Purchase agreement for number 47, signed 3 days ago, for $0.2 million for a corner villa with unobstructed lake views. But the way he looked at me, you'd think I'd shown up with a bag of stolen jewelry and a fake ID. The problem wasn't the car. The problem was the cognitive dissonance. People see a Phantom, and they expect a certain demographic. Someone older. Someone in a bespoke Italian suit. Someone who looks like they spent decades climbing corporate ladders, or more likely, inheriting a family trust fund. I was 28. I had calluses on my hands from my early days and bags under my eyes from the late ones. But nobody asks about the work. They just see the hoodie and fill in the blanks with their own prejudices. When I finally pulled into the driveway of number 47, the silence that followed felt sacred. I cut the engine. No traffic, no sirens, just the chirping of birds and the distant, rhythmic hum of a landscaping crew. I sat there for a moment, hands still resting on the leather steering wheel, just taking it in. This was mine, my space, my quiet. After 2 years of living in a cramped apartment above a 24/7 deli that smelled permanently of fried onions and regret, this was the finish line. Or so I thought. I saw her then. A woman on the balcony of the house next door, number 45. She was maybe 50-something, dressed in cream-colored linen that probably cost more than most people's car payments. Her expression was a masterclass in cold, calculated disapproval. She was on the phone, staring right at me. Even from that distance, I could read the body language. She wasn't welcoming a new neighbor. She was reporting a suspect. I gave her a small, polite wave. She didn't wave back. She just turned her back, phone still pressed her ear. I popped the trunk and started unloading. Just the essentials for now. A few suitcases, my laptop bag, and a beat-up leather portfolio that held my entire life. Documents, contracts, the kind of paperwork that kept my world spinning. My phone buzzed. A message from my assistant. Board meeting rescheduled to 3 p.m. Acquisition update needed by end of day. I typed a quick on it and kept moving. Work didn't stop just because I bought a mansion. If anything, the golden handcuffs just got tighter. That's when the ambush began. I didn't see her coming until she was halfway across the street. The woman from the balcony, now on foot, marching toward my driveway with the kind of purpose that screams, I need to speak to the manager. She had backup. A man in his early 50s wearing khakis and a polo shirt, and another woman with oversized sunglasses pushed up on her head. They moved like a phalanx. I didn't see the post until someone sent it to me. It arrived around 8 p.m. that first night, a digital grenade lobbed into the quiet of my new living room. I was sitting on the floor, My furniture wouldn't arrive until Tuesday, eating takeout from a Thai place 3 towns over because I hadn't gone grocery shopping yet. The house was dark, save for the glow of my laptop and the city lights shimmering off the lake through the back windows. It felt peaceful. It felt removed from a world. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from an old college friend, Mike, who had moved to the area a few years back. He wasn't in Riverside Oaks, but he was close enough to be in the wider community network. The message was just 3 words and an image. "Dude, is this you?" I opened the attachment. It was a screenshot from an app called Neighbor Watch, one of those digital panopticons where bored suburbanites trade gossip under the guise of public safety. The photo was grainy, taken from across the street, zooming in through what looked like hedges. It framed the Phantom, the front of my house, and me standing in the driveway. The angle was deliberate, predatory. It made me look small, shadowed, out of place against the backdrop of the white limestone villa. Below it, a wall of text. The heading read, "Warning" in all caps, followed by a red triangle emoji. "Suspicious individual at number 47. Unknown male, approximate late 20s, wearing hooded sweatshirt, driving a white Rolls-Royce Phantom. Claims to have purchased the property but refuses to provide verification or identification. Background unclear. Employment claims are vague and inconsistent. Vehicle ownership in question. Residents advised to remain vigilant and report any concerning activity to HOA leadership immediately." I read it twice. Then I scrolled through the comments Mike had captured. 87 members in the group, and it looked like half of them had already weighed in. Most of it was what you'd expect. Generic concern, fear-mongering, the kind of reflexive pearl-clutching that keeps property values high and empathy low. But some of it was darker. One comment from a user named Golf Course Living said, "He looks like trouble. Check his waistband." Another, from Mom of 3, wrote, "I knew the Hendersons would sell to anyone with cash. This is what happens when we lose standards." A third said, "We need to protect our property values before this gets out of hand." And then there was the one that made my stomach tighten, the one that shifted this from annoyance to a potential legal issue. Someone with the username Watchful Eye had written, "Cars like that don't disappear out of nowhere with guys dressed like that. Maybe it's not even his. Could be a drug runner looking for a stash house. I've seen it on the news." That last comment had 12 likes. 12 people who saw that baseless, racist, classist speculation and thought, "Yeah, that makes sense. He's probably a criminal." I set my phone down on the kitchen island and stared at it like it might explode. My first instinct was to respond. My thumbs hovered over the screen, itching to download the app, find a thread, and unleash hell. I wanted to explain who I was, show them the paperwork, post a photo of my bank balance, and make them understand that they had jumped to conclusions based on nothing but assumptions and bias. But I stopped myself. I put the phone down. I knew how this worked. In my line of work, high-stakes negotiations, hostile takeovers, you learn very quickly that the moment you engage on an emotional level, you lose. If I commented, if I tried to defend myself in that toxic echo chamber, I'd be playing their game on their terms. I'd look defensive. I'd look desperate. So I didn't comment. I didn't message the group admin. Instead, I took my own screenshots. I saved the post, the photo, and every single defamatory comment to a secure folder on my cloud drive. I noted the timestamp, 8:47 p.m., evidence, just in case I needed it later. The next morning, the digital war spilled into the physical world. I was making coffee when I heard the camera shutter. Not loud, but distinct. That artificial digital click that phones make when people forget to turn off the sound. I walked to the front window and pulled the curtain back just an inch. There was a man I didn't recognize, maybe 45, standing on the sidewalk with his phone out, angled toward the Phantom. He wasn't even trying to hide it. He saw me looking through the window and didn't flinch. He just lowered the phone, gave me a tight, arrogant nod, and kept walking, like it was perfectly normal. Like he had every right to document my existence without my consent. I let the curtain fall back and stood there, coffee mug in hand, feeling the weight of it settle over me. This wasn't just curiosity anymore. This was surveillance. This was a neighborhood deciding I was a virus and taking steps to isolate me. By 10 a.m., I counted for more people who just happened to pass by. 2 joggers who both stopped to tie their shoes at the exact same spot, right where they had a clear view of the driveway and the license plate. A woman walking a poodle who let the animal sniff every inch of my mailbox while she stared at the front door. And a man in a black pickup truck who parked 3 houses down, engine running, just sitting there watching. I didn't confront any of them. I didn't go outside and ask what they were doing. I just watched back, and I started my own log. Photos of the joggers, timestamps of the truck, a record of every suspicious interaction, every lingering glance, every too long pause. If this was going to escalate, and I had a feeling in my gut that I wanted a record. The knock came just after 11 o'clock. It wasn't a friendly rap. It was a pound. 3 hard, authoritative strikes against the wood. I opened the door to find her standing there. Deline, the HOA president. She was wearing a different outfit today. A navy blue pantsuit that screamed official business, but the clipboard and the diamond bracelet were the same. She wasn't alone this time either. 2 other board members flanked her. I recognized Bradford from yesterday, but the third person was new. A younger guy, maybe early 30s, looking uncomfortable like he'd been dragged along against his will. She didn't smile. She didn't offer a greeting. She just launched straight into it. "We need to verify the VIN on your vehicle," she said, her voice clipped and professional. HOA protocol. Any vehicle parked in the community overnight needs to be registered with our security database to ensure it belongs to a resident. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, blocking the view into my house. "That's not in the HOA bylaws," I said. "I read the CC and RS cover to cover before I sign the purchase agreement. Vehicle registration with the community is voluntary, not mandatory." Her jaw tightened. "It's a new policy," she said, too quickly. "Implemented last month for security purposes. We haven't updated the website yet." I didn't believe her, and I was pretty sure she knew I didn't believe her. It was a bluff, a power play designed to force me to submit to her authority. "If you refuse to cooperate," she said slowly, spacing out the words for maximum impact, "we'll have no choice but to escalate this to the proper authorities." I felt something shift in my chest. It wasn't anger. It was a cold, clear recognition of the stakes. She was threatening me, not with fine, not with a stern letter, but with the police, with the weight of the state. She was banking on the assumption that once the authorities showed up, they'd side with her because she looked like someone they believe, and I didn't. I let the silence stretch for a moment. I let her feel the weight of what she'd just said. I looked at Bradford, who shifted his weight uncomfortably. I looked at the young guy, who was staring at his shoes. Then I looked back at Deline. "You have a right to call anyone you want," I said, my voice calm, measured, deliberate. "But let me be very clear, Deline. If you make that call, you're going to regret it." Her eyes flashed. Offense. Indignation. Maybe a little bit of fear, though she hid it well behind a massive outrage. "Are you threatening me?" she asked, her voice rising just enough to draw the attention of a neighbor across the street. I shook my head. "I'm not threatening you," I said. "I'm giving you advice. Because what you're doing right now, harassing a homeowner based on nothing but your own assumptions, is going to have consequences. Legal ones. And I don't think you've thought this through." She stared at me for a long moment, her mouth pressed into a thin line. She was weighing it. I could see the calculation behind her eyes. Is he bluffing? Is he scared? Then she made her choice. She pulled her phone from her pocket, held it up so I could see the screen, and tapped the keypad. 3 numbers. 911. I didn't stop her. I didn't say another word. I just stepped back, leaned against the doorframe, and waited. Because if she wanted to do this, if she wanted to bring the police into it based on nothing but her own bias and suspicion, then fine. Let her. Let the whole neighborhood see exactly what kind of person she was. Her voice was calm when the dispatcher answered. Too calm. Practice. Like she'd rehearsed this in the mirror. "Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious vehicle," she said, her eyes never leaving mine. "A Rolls-Royce Phantom, white, parked at a residence in Riverside Oaks. The individual is uncooperative and behaving aggressively. I have reason to believe the vehicle may be stolen." She paused, listening to the voice on the other end. Then she gave them the address. My address. The board members behind her looked less certain now. The young guy glanced at me, then back at the president, like he was starting to realize this might not be the righteous stand they'd thought it was. But Deline didn't waver. She finished the call, slipped the phone back into her pocket, and looked at me with something close to satisfaction. "They'll be here in 15 minutes, she said. I nodded. "Good," I said, and I meant it, because Deline thought the police were coming to arrest me. She didn't realize she had just called the witnesses to her own destruction. They arrived in exactly 13 minutes. 2 patrol cars, light bars flashing silently in the midday sun, turning the manicured cul-de-sac into a disco of red and blue. They didn't use sirens. That was a small mercy, I suppose, or maybe just protocol for a suspicious vehicle call in a tax bracket this high. I watched from the front window as they pulled up the curb, the doors open in sync, a choreographed entrance that I'm sure Deline found reassuring. 2 officers stepped out. The first was older, maybe late 30s, built like someone who played linebacker in college and still at the gym regularly to work off the stress. His name tag read Callahan. The second was younger, leaner, with the kind of sharp, restless eyes that miss nothing. His tag read Brennan. They didn't rush. They took their time scanning the scene, clocking the Phantom in the driveway. The small crowd of neighbors that had started to gather on the sidewalk like vultures sensing a carcass. Word traveled faster than light in neighborhoods like this. A police presence wasn't tragedy. It was entertainment. It was better than cable television. I opened the door before they even knocked. There was no point in making this harder than it needed to be. I stepped out onto the porch, keeping my hands visible, my posture open and non-threatening. I knew the drill. In situations like this, the person who stays calm controls a room. The person who screams loses. Officer Callahan stepped forward, his right hand resting casually near his belt. Not on his weapon, just near it. A habit more than a threat, but the message was clear. I am in charge here. "Morning," he said, his voice neutral. "Professional. I'm Officer Callahan. This is Officer Brennan. We got a call about a vehicle concern. You're the resident here." I nodded. I said, "Callum Sterling. I bought the house last week." Deline stepped forward immediately, unable to let a sentence go by without inserting herself into the narrative. She stood at the edge of the driveway, arms crossed, chin high. "He refuses to provide proof of residency, officer," she said, her voice dripping with vindication. "And the vehicle, well, look at it. It doesn't belong here." Callahan held up a hand, not looking at her. "1 second, ma'am. Let me talk to the gentleman." He turned his attention back to me, his eyes flicking past my shoulder to the Rolls-Royce. "You own the vehicle, Mr. Sterling?" "I do," I said. "Bought it last Friday." He looked back at my face. He was assessing me. The hoodie, the jeans, the stubble. I could see him doing the math in his head, trying to reconcile the image of a tech startup dropout with a $500,000 car. To his credit, he didn't sneer. He just stayed skeptical. "Mind if we take a look at some paperwork?" he asked. "Registration, insurance, ID, that sort of thing." "Not at all," I said. "Give me 30 seconds. I turned and walked back into the house. I could feel Deline's eyes boring into my back. I could practically hear her thoughts. He's running. He's gonna flush the drugs. He's panicking. But I wasn't panicking. I walked to the kitchen island, grabbed my laptop bag, and pulled out the specific folder I kept for moments exactly like this. I'd learned a long time ago in business that the best way to handle authority was to be so overprepared that they couldn't find a single loose thread to pull. Registration, insurance card, purchase receipt from the dealership, title transfer paperwork, my driver's license, a copy of the deed to the house, even the HOA welcome packet I'd received at closing. Everything organized, everything current. I walked back outside and handed the stack to Officer Callahan. He took it, his eyebrows raising slightly at the thickness of file. He handed half of it to Officer Brennan, and they started going through it. Silence stretched over the driveway. The only sound was the rustling of paper and the distant hum of a lawnmower. Deline stood there, watching like a hawk. The 2 board members who had come at her had backed up a few steps, putting distance between themselves and the situation. Smart move. They were starting to realize the wind was changing direction. Officer Callahan looked up from the papers, his expression unchanged, but the tension in his shoulders had dropped an inch. "Everything here looks in order," he said. He pulled out his radio and spoke into it, low and quick. I caught fragments. "Running the VIN, checking for reports." Deline smirked. She thought this was the gotcha moment. She thought the computer was going to flag it as stolen from some rapper in Miami or a banker in New York. 30 seconds later, the radio crackled back. The dispatcher's voice was tinny but clear in the quiet morning air. No hits. Vehicle is clean. Registered to Callum Sterling. No outstanding warrants. No reports. Callahan clipped the radio back onto his belt. He looked at the papers one last time, then organized them neatly and handed them back to me. "You're all set, Mr. Sterling," he said. Then, he turned slowly toward the HOA president. The shift in his demeanor was subtle but tectonic. The neutrality was gone. His tone was now firm, direct, and slightly annoyed. "Ma'am," he said, "do you have any actual evidence that this vehicle was stolen?" Deline blinked. She looked like someone had just slapped her. Well, I had concerns. The way he was dressed, the value of the car versus his apparent status. Concerns aren't evidence. Officer Brennan stepped in. He was less diplomatic than his partner. "You called 911 to report a suspected stolen vehicle. That is a specific claim involving a felony. If you don't have evidence to support it, that borders on filing a false report." The color drained from her face. Just a little, but enough that I noticed. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "I was acting in the best interest of the community," she stammered, her voice losing its sharp edge. "We have a responsibility to protect our neighborhood. I saw something suspicious, and I reported it. Isn't that what you tell people to do? See something, say something?" Officer Callahan nodded slowly. "We tell people to report suspicious behavior, ma'am. Someone breaking a window, someone peering into cars, someone loitering at 3 a.m. He gestured to my driveway. "Parking a legally owned luxury car in your own driveway isn't suspicious. It's living." He paused, letting that sink in. The neighbors on the sidewalk were whispering now. The cameras were still rolling, but the narrative had flipped. Deline wasn't a hero protecting the gates. She was a villain harassing the new guy. "There is no crime here," Callahan continued. "The only question now is whether Mr. Sterling wants to pursue a complaint against you for the false report." I felt the air leave the room. Every pair of eyes landed on me. The officers, the board members, the neighbors. Deline, this was the moment, the fork in the road. I could press charges. I could demand they cite her right now. I could make an example out of her in front of everyone. Part of me, the angry part, I wanted to see her in handcuffs. I wanted to see her humiliated. But I also knew that a misdemeanor citation for filing a false report was a slap on the wrist. She'd pay a fine, maybe do some community service, and then she'd spin it. She'd play the martyr. She'd tell everyone she was persecuted for trying to keep the streets safe. No, that wasn't enough. Revenge isn't about a quick jab. It's about dismantling the opponent's ability to fight. I didn't just want to win this battle. I wanted to win the war. I looked at Officer Callahan, keeping my expression unreadable. "Not right now," I said. Deline let out a breath. She didn't know she was holding. Her shoulders slumped. "But," I added, my voice hardening, "I reserve the right to file a complaint later if this continues. Consider this our one and only warning." Officer Callahan nodded. "That's your choice, sir." He turned back to Deline. "Ma'am, I'd suggest you be very careful about making accusations like this in the future. We don't like having our time wasted, and we definitely don't like being used as a weapon in neighbor disputes." She didn't respond. She just stood there, her face tight, her hands gripping that clipboard like it was a life raft in a storm. Officer Callahan handed me a business card. "If you have any more trouble, give us a call," he said. "And for what it's worth, nice car." It was a small thing, a gesture, but it carried weight. He had just validated me in front of the entire street. I took the card. "Thank you, officer." I watched as they walked back to their patrol cars. The lights turned off. The doors slammed shut. They drove away, leaving behind a silence that was heavy and awkward. The crowd on the sidewalk started to disperse slowly, reluctantly, like an audience leaving a theater after a confusing ending. The board members had already evaporated, disappearing back toward their homes to pretend they had never been part of this. But Deline stayed. She stood in my driveway, staring at me. She looked diminished, but not defeated. There was still a fire in her eyes, the desperate, cornered anger of someone who realizes they're losing control. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, a call from my office. The caller ID read legal department. I held up a finger to Deline, a silent 1-second gesture that I knew would infuriate her, and answered the phone. Sterling, I said. Callum, it's Jennifer. My lawyer's voice came through crisp and clear. I got your message about the HOA situation. I reviewed the screenshots you sent. You have a case. A strong one. Defamation, invasion of privacy. But I need to know, how far do you want to take this? I looked at Deline standing in the sun, defeated by the police but still clinging to her clipboard. I thought about the post online. I thought about the drug dealer comments. I thought about the arrogance of that 911 call. All the way, I said into the phone, holding Deline's gaze. Draft the letter. I want to ruin her weekend. I hung up and looked at her. You made a mistake, I said quietly. You should just wave back. Then I turned around, walked into my house, and closed the door. The police were gone. The skirmish was over. But the war had just begun. And unlike Deline, I had the ammunition to finish it. The silence on the street was heavy. It was a kind of thick, humid silence that follows a thunderstorm, where the air still feels charged with electricity. The police cruisers had turned the corner and vanished, taking Deline's authority with them. The neighbors who had gathered to watch the drug bust were now awkwardly checking their mailboxes or suddenly finding their landscaping very interesting. They realized the show was over, and the ending wasn't the one they had been promised. Deline stood frozen at the edge of my driveway. She looked like a statue of indignation that was beginning to crack. Her face was pale, her lips pressed into a line so thin it had almost disappeared. She was waiting for me to scream, to gloat, to give her something. Anything she could use to paint me as the aggressor. I didn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, I walked toward her. I didn't rush. I moved with the slow, deliberate cadence of someone who owns the ground they're walking on. I stopped 3 feet away, just outside her personal space, but close enough that she had to look up to meet my eyes. You made a mistake, I said quietly. My voice wasn't angry. It was factual, like I was pointing out a math error in a spreadsheet. She blinked, finding her voice. It was shaky, stripped of its usual venom. I was just doing my job. The bylaws state. I don't care about the bylaws. I cut her off, and neither do you. If you cared about rules, you wouldn't have just filed a false police report. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I could see her flinch, expecting me to record her. Instead, I opened a browser window. I had the page bookmarked. It was an article from the Wall Street Journal, published 3 weeks ago. I held the screen up so she could see it. The brightness was turned all the way up. The headline read, Rising Stars in Private Equity, the new generation of dealmakers reshaping the industry. And there, right below the headline, was a photo, me, in a suit, yes, but undeniably me. The caption underneath read, Callum Sterling, CIO and co-founder of Sterling Meridian Group, after closing a $2.3 billion acquisition. She stared at the screen. Her eyes darted from the photo to my face, then back to the photo. I could practically hear the gears in her brain grinding to a halt as she tried to reconcile the thug she thought she saw with a man in the article who managed more money than the entire GDP of some small countries. She started, then trailed off. I'm the chief investment officer of a firm that manages $4.2 billion in assets. I finished for her. I analyze risk for a living. I spot frauds for a living. And Deline, I spotted you the second you walked onto my driveway. I lowered the phone. So when you posted that I was suspicious, when you suggested my car might be stolen, when you told 300 people on that app that I was a criminal, you weren't just being rude. You were being catastrophically, publicly, documentably wrong. She looked like she might be sick. I didn't know, she whispered. How was I supposed to know? You could have asked, I said. You could have knocked on my door like a neighbor instead of marching over here like a warden. But you didn't want to know. You wanted to be right. I took a step back. Go home, Deline. Delete the posts. Because if I see my name or my car on that app one more time, I won't call the police. I'll call my lawyers. And unlike the police, they don't leave until they've taken everything. She didn't argue. She didn't try to defend herself. She turned around and walked back toward her house. Her posture was different now. The strut was gone. She walked like an old woman carrying a heavy load. I watched her go, then turned and walked back into my house. I locked the door, leaned against it, and let out a long breath. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by a cold, simmering clarity. I walked to the kitchen, opened my laptop, and refreshed the neighborhood app page I had saved. The post was gone, deleted, erased from the feed as if it had never happened. But the internet is forever, and screenshots don't fade. I opened my evidence folder. It was all there. The accusations, the comments, the timestamps. She could scrub the app, but she couldn't scrub my hard drive. My phone buzzed. It was my lawyer, Jennifer. "I got your text," she said. "I'm drafting the demand letter now. Defamation, invasion of privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress. We can ask for a retraction and damages. But, Callum, are you sure you want to do this? It's an HOA spat. Usually we just ignore these people." I walked to the window and looked out at the lake. The water was calm, reflecting the clouds. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. And it was tainted. "It's not just a spat, Jen," I said. She called the cops. She tried to get me arrested in my own driveway. If I hadn't had my paperwork perfectly organized, if those cops had been a little more aggressive, that could have gone very differently. "I know," she sighed. "It's ugly, but litigation is expensive and public. Do you want your name dragged through court filings over a suburban power trip?" I thought about it. She was right, logically. In business, you cut your losses. You don't chase bad money. But this wasn't business. This was personal. And then a thought occurred to me. A suspicion that had been nagging at the back of my mind since the police officer mentioned Deline's concerns. She was too comfortable. She was too practiced. The way she had rallied the neighbors. The way she had mobilized the board members. The way she had dialed 911 without a tremor in her hand. That wasn't the behavior of someone doing this the first time. That was muscle memory. "Jen," I said slowly, "hold off on filing the lawsuit for 48 hours. "Why? You just said you wanted to ruin her weekend." "I do," I said, "but I think I'm aiming too small. I want to know who she is. I want to know if she's done this before." There was a pause on the line. Then I heard the smile in Jennifer's voice. "You want to bring in Loud?" "Bring in Loud." I confirmed. Loud was a nickname for a private investigator we used for high-level corporate due diligence. The guy was a ghost. He could find dirt on a saint. If Deline Hargrove had so much as an overdue library book from 1994, he would find it. "I'll send a retainer," Jennifer said. "What are we looking for?" "Everything," I said. "Past lawsuits, HOA complaints, settlements. I want to know if Deline acts like this with everyone, or she has a specific target demographic." I hung up and sent the wire transfer. The rest of the day was a blur of actual work. I had to compartmentalize. I jumped on the 3 p.m. board meeting, discussed the acquisition strategy, and charmed 3 skeptical investors, all while the anger simmered in the background like a pot left on low heat. By the time evening rolled around, the sun was setting, casting long, bruised shadows across the lawn. I was heating up leftovers when my email pinged. Subject, prelim report. Subject, D. Hargrove. It had been 6 hours. The guy was fast. I opened the attachment. It was 20 pages long. Photos, timelines, copies of old court dockets. I started reading, and with every page, my jaw got tighter. I wasn't special. That was the first thing I learned. Deline didn't hate me specifically. She hated what I represented. And I wasn't the first. Page 4, 2019 incident. A Hispanic family, the Martinezes, moved into number 12. Within 2 months, they had received 15 HOA violations, noise complaints, landscaping violations, unapproved guests. They sold the house at a loss 6 months later just to get away. Page 9, 2021 incident. An Indian woman, Dr. Patel, single mother, neurosurgeon. Deline had started a rumor that she was running an illegal clinic out of her basement because people were coming and going at odd hours. Dr. Patel had filed a harassment complaint, but it was settled privately. The HOA paid her a nuisance settlement to drop it. She moved out 3 months later. Page 14, pattern of behavior. A log of police calls from Deline's number over the last 5 years. 22 calls. Almost all of them for suspicious persons. All of the descriptions matched a specific profile: black, Hispanic, Asian, or youths. I sat back in my chair, the glow of the screen illuminating the dark kitchen. This wasn't just a cranky neighbor. This was a predator. She was using the HOA as a weapon to curate the neighborhood to her liking, systematically purging anyone who didn't fit her vision of Riverside Oaks. She had bullied, harassed, and lied to drive good people out of their homes. And the HOA board had covered for her, using community funds to pay off the victims and keep it quiet. I looked out the window at her house next door. The lights were on. I could see a silhouette moving in the living room. She was probably having a glass of wine, telling her husband about the rude young man next door, convincing herself she was a victim. She had no idea. She thought she was fighting a defamation suit. She thought she was fighting a neighbor dispute. But as I looked at the names of the families she had terrorized, Martinez, Patel, I realized the game had changed completely. I picked up my phone and texted Jennifer. Read the report. It's not a lawsuit anymore. 3 dots appeared instantly. What is it then? I typed back, my fingers hitting the glass hard. It's a crusade. We're not settling. We're going to burn her kingdom down. The tide hadn't just turned. It had become a tsunami. And Deline was standing on the beach with her back to the ocean. At 2:55 p.m., I did what I had done 1,000 times before. I stepped into my office, a spare bedroom that currently contained nothing but a desk, a Herman Miller chair, and a backdrop of empty white walls. And I put on my costume. I pulled a navy blue blazer over my gray t-shirt. I ran a hand through my hair. I adjusted the lighting ring on my laptop. And just like that, Callum, the suspicious hoodie guy, vanished, replaced by Callum Sterling, Chief Investment Officer. The Zoom room opened at 3 p.m. sharp. Faces popped up on the grid. 8 of them. These were people who controlled pension funds, university endowments, and sovereign wealth. People who didn't get out of bed for anything less than a 9-figure return. Afternoon, everyone, I said, my voice smooth, authoritative, completely divorced from the man who had been threatened with arrest 4 hours earlier. Let's talk about the acquisition. For the next 90 minutes, I was in the zone. We were closing a $2.3 billion acquisition of a boutique hotel chain in Europe. I walked them through the cap rates, the EBITDA adjustments, the risk mitigation strategies. I fielded questions about regulatory hurdles in France and labor unions in Italy. I was surgical. I was precise. I was the person they trusted to steer a ship made of money through a storm of economic uncertainty. And the whole time, in the back of my mind, a dark, ironic laughter was bubbling up. If these people knew, I thought as I explained a complex debt restructuring. If they knew that the man handling their billions was almost hauled off in handcuffs this morning because a suburban housewife didn't like his car, they'd lose their minds. It was a study in absurdity. To the world of high finance, I was a shark. To Deline Hargrove, I was a minnow she could flush down the toilet. When the call ended, the lead investor, a guy named Marcus who had made his fortune in silicon chips, nodded at the screen. Sterling, good work on the leverage model. That was aggressive, but smart. We're in. Thanks, Marcus. I said, I'll send the closing docs tonight. I ended the call. The screen went black. I took off the blazer, tossed it onto the floor, and exhaled. The adrenaline of the deal faded, and the cold rage of the morning returned to fill the void. I walked to the window. Deline's house was quiet. Her curtains were drawn. She was probably in there right now, licking her wounds, telling herself that she had won a moral victory even if she had lost the battle. She had no idea what was coming. I picked up my phone and called Jennifer. The meeting is over, I said. I'm ready. Okay, Jennifer said. I've drafted the standard defamation complaint. Cease and desist, demand for retraction, threat of civil suit for damages. It's scary, but it's standard. Not good enough, I said. I read the PI report, Jen. I know about the Martinez family. I know about Dr. Patel. This isn't a one-off. It's a habit. Standard won't work on her. She's probably seen Standard before. The HOA probably paid for Standard to go away. So, what do you want? I walked to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water, my hand steady. I want the corporate hammer. I want you to hit her with everything. Defamation, paresse, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Tortious interference with quiet enjoyment, invasion of privacy. I paused, thinking about the numbers, and I want damages. Big ones. How big? $500,000, I said. Jennifer whistled low. Callum, that's high. For an HOA dispute, no judge is going to award $500,000 for a Facebook post. I don't care about the award, I said. I care about the fear. I want her to see a number that threatens her entire existence. I want her to realize that she didn't just kick a hornet's nest. She kicked a landmine. Okay, Jennifer said, her voice shifting into war mode. And the demands? 1. Immediate removal of all posts and comments. 2. A written public apology posted to the same neighborhood app, pinned for 30 days. 3. Immediate resignation from the HOA board. 4. The money. Got it. I'll have a courier run it over. It'll be on her doorstep by 6 p.m. Do it. I spent the next hour watching the street. It was petty, maybe, but I needed to see it. I needed to see the moment the reality of her actions made landfall. At 5:58 p.m., a nondescript sedan pulled up. A courier hopped out, holding a thick red envelope. Legal documents. He walked up the path to number 45, rang the bell, and waited. Deline opened the door. She was wearing a bathrobe, looking tired. She signed for the package, looking confused. She probably thought it was an Amazon delivery or something from the HOA lawyers reassuring her. She took the envelope and closed the door. I poured a drink, a finger of Japanese whiskey, and sat in the dark living room, facing the window, waiting. It took 20 minutes. That was how long it took to read the document, process the legalese, and get to the page where the number $500,000 was printed in bold text. At 6:20 p.m., my phone rang. It was an unknown number, local area code. I swirled the whiskey in the glass, watching the amber liquid catch the fading light. I let it ring twice, 3 times. Then I picked up. This is Sterling, I said. Mr. Sterling? Her voice was unrecognizable. It wasn't the sharp, commanding bark of the morning. It was thin, high, and trembling. It sounded like glass vibrating right before it shatters. This is Deline Hargrove. I know, I said. I assume you received the package. Yes, I have it. She took a jagged breath. Mr. Sterling, this is insane. You're suing me for $500,000? Over phone call? I'm suing you for defamation. I corrected her. You publicly accused me of felony. You damaged my reputation. In my line of work, reputation is currency. You tried to devalue my currency. I'm simply balancing the ledger. I can't pay this, she said, her voice rising into hysteria. We don't have that kind of liquid cash. My husband, if he sees this, we're comfortable, but we're not. We can't just write a check for $500,000. You'll ruin us. I took a sip of the whiskey. It burned, clean and sharp. You tried to ruin me, I said calmly. You stood in my driveway and tried to have me arrested. You tried to put me in a cage. Deline, did you think about my reputation then? Did you think about what a criminal record would do to my career? To my life? I didn't mean it like that. You were just what? I snapped, letting the anger bleed through for the first time. Just protecting the neighborhood? From who? From the guy who buys the most expensive house on the block. I made a mistake, she cried. I'm sorry. I'll delete the posts. I'll apologize. Just, please drop the lawsuit. Please don't do this. Silence stretched over the line. I could hear her breathing, jagged and wet. She was crying. Part of me, the part that was raised to be polite, to be forgiving, wanted to let her off the hook. She was terrified. She was broken. The lesson had been learned. But then I looked at the PDF on my laptop screen. The PI report. The names. The Martinez family. Dr. Patel. I thought about the Martinez family, packing up their boxes in the middle of the night because Deline kept finding them for a noise every time their kids laughed in the backyard. I thought about Dr. Patel, a neurosurgeon saving lives, coming home to find Deline peering through her windows, looking for reasons to evict her. They had begged too. Probably they had asked for mercy, and Deline had given them none. She had crushed them because she could, because it made her feel powerful. I can't drop it, I said. Why? She sobbed. I said, I'm sorry. Because you didn't say sorry to the Martinez family, I said. The line went dead silent. The crying stopped instantly. What? She whispered. And you didn't say sorry, Dr. Patel. I continued, my voice ice cold. You didn't offer to pay their moving costs when you bullied them out of their homes. You didn't worry about ruining their lives. How? She couldn't even finish the sentence. The fear in her voice had shifted. It wasn't just panic about money anymore. It was a terror of being exposed. I know everything, Deline. I said, I know about the settlements. I know about the harassment patterns. I know that this is a mistake. It's a hobby. I leaned forward, speaking into the phone like I was whispering a secret in her ear. So no, I won't drop the lawsuit. The $500K is a negotiation tactic. It's the price of admission. You wanted a war? You wanted to police the neighborhood? Congratulations. You just arrested the wrong guy. Please, she whispered. What do you want? I want you to resign, I said. Tonight, send an email to the board. Copy me on it. And then I want you to sit tight and wait for my next move. And if I do, then maybe I won't send this PI report to the local news station tomorrow morning. I lied. I was going to send it anyway. But she didn't need to know that yet. Okay, she said. Okay, I'll do it. Good night, Deline, I said. I hung up. I sat there in the dark for a long time, finishing my drink. My hand wasn't shaking anymore. I felt steady. I felt focused. She had tried to use the corporate hammer, the HOA, to crush me. She didn't realize that I brought my own hammer, and mine was made of solid gold. Deline sent the resignation email at 11:42 p.m. that night. It was brief, terse, and copied to the entire board, just as I had demanded, due to personal health reasons. I am stepping down as president of the Riverside Oaks HOA, effective immediately. Health reasons. The oldest lie in the corporate playbook. It was a shield, a way to exit with some shred of dignity intact, allowing the neighbors to speculate about blood pressure or stress rather than the truth, that she was being hunted by a predator she had foolishly poked with a stick. I read the email in bed, the blue light of my phone illuminating the ceiling. It was a victory, a major one. Most people would have stopped there. I had my apology privately. I had her resignation. I had the satisfaction of knowing she was terrified. But then I thought about the Martinez family again. I thought about them packing their lives into cardboard boxes, feeling like they didn't belong, feeling like they were the problem. Deline's quiet resignation didn't help them. It didn't fix the culture she had built. It just removed the figurehead, while leaving the rot underneath. If I let her fade away quietly, she'd just become a victim in her own mind. She'd tell her friends at brunch that the job was too stressful. She'd garner sympathy. No, I didn't just want her gone. I wanted her exposed. I picked up my phone and opened my contact list. I scrolled down to S until I found Sarah, journalist INV. We had met a few years ago when she was covering a private equity story. She was tenacious, brilliant, and hated bullies more than I did. I sent her a text. I have a story. Wealthy suburb. Housing discrimination. Systemic harassment by HOA leadership. Receipts included. You interested? The response came back in 30 seconds. Always send the dossier. I forwarded the PI report. I forwarded the screenshots of the deleted posts. I forwarded the police report number. I forwarded the contact info for the Martinez family and Dr. Patel, which my PI had helpfully included. Then I went to sleep. The article dropped on Sunday morning. It wasn't a small blurb in the local paper. It was a feature piece on the digital front page of a major regional news outlet, with syndication to national aggregators. Sarah didn't mess around. The headline was brutal in its simplicity. The Gatekeeper, how one HOA president terrorized minority residents in an elite suburb. It was a masterclass in investigative journalism. It didn't name me. I was referred to as a newly arrived executive, but it named Deline. It detailed the pattern. It had quotes from the Martinez family describing the humiliation of being asked for ID in their own driveway. It had quotes from Dr. Patel about the false rumors. It had screenshots of Deline's post calling me a suspicious individual and suggesting drug activity. By noon, it had gone viral locally. The neighborhood group chat, which I was still monitoring, was in meltdown. Is this true? OMG, I remember the Martinez family. They were so nice. I always thought Deline was a bit much, but this is illegal. My property value is going to tank because of this racist witch. That was the turning point. The moment they realized their property values were at risk, the mob turned on her. They weren't angry about the racism. They were angry about the bad PR. At 2 p.m., a new email went out to the entire community. Emergency town hall meeting. Mandatory for all residents. 6 p.m. tonight. I walked into the clubhouse at 5:55 p.m. The room was packed. Standing room only. The air was thick with tension, smelling of stale coffee and expensive perfume. Every chair was taken. People were lined up along the back walls. I didn't hide. I walked right down the center aisle. I was wearing a black turtleneck and slacks. Simple, stark, commanding. Heads turned as I passed. Whispers trailed me like a wake behind a boat. That's him. The Rolls-Royce guy. He looks normal. I took a seat in the third row, directly in the center. At the front of the room, behind a long folding table, sat the HOA board. They looked like they were facing a firing squad. Bradford was sweating through his polo shirt. Felicity was staring at the table, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. And in the center sat Deline. She looked 10 years older than she had on Friday. Her hair was pulled back severely. She wore no makeup. Her eyes were red-rimmed and puffy. She wasn't wearing the diamond bracelet. She sat with her hands clasped in front of her, knuckles white, staring at a piece of paper. The vice president, a man named Tom who usually just handled the landscaping contracts, stood up. He tapped the microphone. It squealed with feedback, making everyone wince. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," Tom said, his voice shaking slightly. We have some serious matters to address." He didn't waste time. He couldn't. The mood in the room was too volatile. In light of the article published today and the underlying events, the board has voted to accept the resignation of Deline Hargrove, effective immediately. There was no applause, just a low, angry murmur. Furthermore, Tom continued, clearly reading from a script prepared by a crisis management lawyer, the board was unaware of the extent of these past interactions. We are launching a full independent audit of all violation notices sent in the last 5 years to ensure no bias was involved. It was a lie, of course. They knew. They had signed the checks for the settlements. But they were throwing Deline to the wolves to save themselves. Deline would like to make a statement, Tom said, stepping back. Deline stood up. Her legs looked unsteady. She picked up the piece of paper, her hands trembling so hard the paper rattled against a microphone stand. Her voice cracked. She cleared her throat and started again. "I want to apologize to the community. My actions were misguided. I thought I was protecting Riverside Oaks. I thought I was upholding our standards." She looked up, and for a second, her eyes locked with mine. There was pleading in them. She wanted me to nod, to absolve her, to signal that this was enough. I just stared back, my face a mask of stone. "Keep reading," my eyes said. "I made assumptions based on bias," she continued, forcing the words out. "I targeted residents who didn't fit my image of this neighborhood. I harassed the Martinez family. I harassed Dr. Patel. And this week, I filed a false police report against Mr. Sterling." A gasp went through the room. The article had mentioned harassment, but the police report detail was new to many of them. "I am deeply sorry," Deline whispered. "I have disgraced myself in this board." She sat down and covered her face with her hands. The room was silent for a heartbeat, and then the floodgates opened. "You cost us a fortune in legal fees," someone shouted from the back. "How could you do that to the Patel family?" A woman yelled, "You're a racist." It was turning into a riot. The quiet luxury of Riverside Oaks was dissolving into mob justice. Tom, the VP, tried to regain control. Please, we are moving forward. We are implementing new protocols." "Is he here?" someone shouted. "The new guy?" "Sterling." Tom looked panicked. He scanned the room. I don't know if he wants to." I stood up. The room went dead silent. The noise cut off as if someone had pulled a plug. I didn't go to the microphone. I didn't need to. I have a voice that carries in boardrooms, and it carried here. "I'm here," I said. I turned slowly, looking at the faces of my neighbors, the same people who had liked the post, the same people who had peered through their blinds. "My name is Callum Sterling," I said. "I moved here for the same reason you all did. Quiet. Safety. A good investment. I walked toward the front of the room, stopping just in front of the board table. I looked down at Deline, who couldn't even meet my gaze. Deline thought I didn't belong because I wore a hoodie and drove a car she couldn't afford, I said. She thought I was a criminal because I didn't look like her. She tried to use the police to remove me. I turned back to the audience. I've filed a lawsuit against Deline Hargrove for defamation and harassment, I announced. Deline let out a small sob. However, I continued, letting the word hang in the air. I am willing to stay the lawsuit. I am willing to let this neighborhood heal, but only on one condition. What is it? Tom asked, desperate for a lifeline. Anything. We'll do anything. I don't want your money, I said. I have enough money. I pointed at Deline, then at Bradford, then at Felicity. I want a complete purge, I said. Deline is gone, but Bradford stood there and watched. Felicity laughed while they interrogated me in my driveway. They were complicit. If you want to drop the lawsuit, and if you want to avoid a federal civil rights investigation, which my lawyers are drafting right now, then the entire board resigns. Tonight, Bradford jumped up. Now, wait a minute. I didn't do anything. Exactly. I snapped, turning on him. You did nothing. You watched her terrorize families for 5 years, and you signed the checks to cover it up. That makes you worse than her. She's a bigot. You're a coward. The room erupted in applause. It started with one person, the woman who had yelled about the Patel family, and it spread. It was a wave of relief, of anger, of a desire to scrub the stain clean. Resign! 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 The chant started. Bradford looked at the crowd, then at me. He saw the inevitable. He slumped back into his chair. I looked at Deline one last time. She was weeping openly now, her head on the table. It was a pathetic sight, but I felt no pity. I only felt the cold satisfaction of a balance sheet finally zeroing out. I'll be waiting for the official notification, I said to Tom. I turned and walked out of the room. The chanting followed me into the hallway. Resign, resign, resign. I walked out into the cool evening air. The sun had set. The street lights were humming. I walked back toward my house, the sound of the mob fading behind me. I pulled out my phone and texted Jennifer. It's done. The board is dissolving. Deline is finished. Good, she replied. Does that mean we dropped the lawsuit? I stopped at the end of my driveway and looked at the Phantom gleaming under the porch lights. We dropped the financial damages. I typed, but keep the pressure on until the new board is seated. And Jen, make sure Deline pays that $50,000 donation to the legal aid fund. I want her to write that check with her own hand. I walked inside my house. It was quiet. It was peaceful. Finally, it felt like home. But as I poured myself a drink, I knew the story wasn't quite over. Deline had been broken publicly. Yes. But people like Deline don't just disappear. They fester. And I had a feeling that while the battle for the HOA was over, the personal vendetta might have one last gasp. I took a sip of whiskey and smiled. Let her try. I was just getting warmed up. The resignation of the entire HOA board didn't just clear the air. It changed the weather. In the week following the emergency meeting, Riverside Oaks underwent a transformation. The heavy, paranoid atmosphere that Deline had cultivated, the feeling that someone was always watching, always judging, evaporated. It was replaced by something strange, something almost unsettling, deference. When I drove the Phantom to the gate, the guard didn't check my ID. He stood up straight, gave me a sharp nod, and opened the gate before I even came to a complete stop. When I walked to my mailbox, neighbors who had previously hidden behind their blinds now came out to check their landscaping. They waved. They smiled too wide. They introduced themselves as the good ones who had never really liked Deline anyway. I didn't buy it, of course. They were the same people who had stood by while the Martinez family was bullied into selling. They were just calibrating their compasses to the new magnetic north. And right now I was the North Pole. Bradford, the polo shirt wearing board member who had stood beside Deline in my driveway, didn't wait for the dust to settle. A for sale sign appeared on his lawn 48 hours after the meeting. He was cutting his losses, running before the social stigma stuck. But Deline stayed. She went into hiding inside number 45, blinds drawn, lights off, a ghost in her own castle. On Wednesday, Jennifer called me. She's ready to sign, My lawyer said. Her attorney says she's willing to liquidate some assets to pay the $500,000 if that's what it takes to stop the lawsuit and the civil rights investigation. She's terrified, Callum. She thinks you're going to take her house. I sat in my office, looking at the acquisition contract for a new tech startup I was eyeing. $500,000 was a lot of money to Deline. To me, it was a rounding error on a quarterly report. Taking her money wouldn't change my life. It would just make me mean. And I didn't want to be mean. I wanted to be effective. I don't want her money, Jen, I said. Not for me, anyway. So what's the play? Set up a meeting, I said. Tomorrow morning. Neutral ground. A coffee shop. No lawyers present. Just me and her. That's highly irregular, Jennifer warned. If she says something, she won't. I interrupted. She's broken, Jen. The fight is over. Now I just need to set the terms of surrender. The coffee shop was a place called The Groundwork, about 10 minutes outside the neighborhood. It was quiet, brick-walled, the kind of place where people worked on screenplays and ignored each other. I arrived 10 minutes early. I ordered a black coffee and took a table in the back corner. Deline arrived exactly on time. She looked diminished. That was the only word for it. The Deline who had marched onto my driveway had been armored in linen and diamonds, projecting an aura of invincibility. This woman wore a gray sweater and jeans. No makeup, no jewelry. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She walked with her head down, avoiding eye contact with the barista, terrified of being recognized from a news article. She spotted me and hesitated. For a second, I thought she might turn and run, but she didn't. She walked over and sat down. She didn't get a coffee. She just folded her hands on the table. They were shaking. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. Her voice was brittle, like dry leaves. I didn't smile. I didn't offer pleasantries. "You wanted to talk about the settlement." She nodded, tears instantly welling in her eyes. "My lawyer says you want $500,000. Mr. Sterling, I know I was wrong. I know I hurt people. But if you take that money, we'll have to sell the house. We'll lose our retirement savings. I'm begging you. Is there any other way?" I took a sip of my coffee, letting the silence stretch. I wanted her to sit in that fear for just a moment longer. I wanted her to understand that her lifestyle, her comfort, her future, all hung by a thread that I was holding. "Why?" I asked simply. She blinked. "Why what? Why did you do it?" I asked, not just to me, to the Martinez family, to Dr. Patel. "Why did you make it your mission to destroy them?" She looked down at her hands. "I thought." She stopped, swallowed hard, and started again. "I grew up in a place like this. My parents taught me that we had to protect it, that if we let the standard slip, we'd lose everything. I saw anyone different as a threat. I convinced myself I was a protector." She looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw genuine shame. Not just regret that she got caught, but shame for who she was. "I realized this week," she whispered, "that I wasn't a protector. I was the villain. Reading those comments, seeing what people think of me, I deserve it." I studied her. She was broken. The toxicity had been drained out of her, replaced by a hollow fear. Destroying her further wouldn't serve justice. It would just be cruelty. "I'm dropping the financial demand," I said. Her head snapped up. "What?" "I'm withdrawing a demand for $500,000 in personal damages." I repeated, "I don't need your money, Deline, and taking it won't fix what you did to those other families." She let out a sob, covering her mouth with her hand. "Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," I said, my voice cutting through her relief like a knife. "I said I'm dropping the personal damages, but there are conditions. 3 of them, and they are non-negotiable." She nodded frantically. "Anything. I'll do anything." I slid a piece of paper across the table. "Condition 1, I said, you will write a personal check for $50,000 to the Legal Aid Justice Center, specifically to their Housing Discrimination Fund. You will write it today. You will mail it today, and you will send me a photo of the receipt." She nodded. $50,000. "Okay, I can do that." "Condition 2, I continued. You will write handwritten letters of apology to the Martinez family and to Dr. Patel. My lawyer will provide the addresses. In those letters, You will admit exactly what you did. You will not make excuses. You will not talk about intentions. You will apologize for the harm you caused. And you will offer to reimburse them for any moving expenses they incurred because of you. She paled slightly at the thought of facing her past victims, but she nodded. I will. I'll write them tonight. Condition 3, I said. Community service. But not just picking up trash on the highway. I leaned forward. I want you to volunteer 100 hours at the downtown housing shelter, the one on 4th Street. I want you to see the people who don't have mansions in gated communities. I want you to serve food to people who are struggling to survive. I want you to look them in the eye and realize that they are human beings, not suspicious individuals. And I want a signed log of your hours sent to my office every week. She stared at me. It was a humiliation ritual, yes, but it was also an education. I've never... She stammered. Then it's time you started. I said, those are the terms. $50,000 to help people fight discrimination. Apologies to the people you hurt. And 100 hours of learning humility. Do you accept? Yes, she whispered. I accept. I stood up. Good. My lawyer will send over the formal agreement. If you miss a single hour of volunteering, or if that check bounces, the lawsuit comes back. And next time, it will be for $1 million. I won't miss it, she said. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. Mr. Sterling? Callum, thank you. You didn't have to do this. No, I said. I didn't. But unlike you, I know the difference between power and leadership. I walked out of the coffee shop, leaving her sitting there with her second chance. I drove back to Riverside Oaks with the windows down. The air smelled of freshly cut grass and jasmine. It was a beautiful day. As I pulled onto my street, I slowed down. I saw the for sale sign in Bradford's yard. I saw the empty driveway at number 45 where Deline was still hiding. And then I looked at the house on the other side of Deline, number 43. It was a beautiful property, smaller than mine but elegant, a Mediterranean-style villa with a terracotta roof. It had been on the market for 6 months, empty, looking for a buyer. I pulled the Phantom into my driveway and turned off the engine. I sat there for a moment, smiling. I picked up my phone and called my real estate agent. Hey, Callum, she answered. Everything okay with the house? House is great, I said, but I have a question about number 43, the one next door to my neighbor. Oh, the Mediterranean? Yeah, it's still available. Why? Do you have a friend looking? Not a friend, I said. My mother. Your mother? Yeah, I said, watching Deline's house. She's been looking to downsize. She wants to be closer to me, and she has a very vibrant personality. She drives a bright red Ferrari convertible. She plays opera music with the windows down. She hosts garden parties every Sunday. I paused, savoring the image. I think she'd love this neighborhood. And I think the neighbor number 45 could really use the exposure to a strong, loud, confident woman. My agent laughed. I can have the papers drawn up this afternoon. Cash offer. Cash offer, I said. Full ask. Let's close by Friday. I hung up and looked at Deline's house one last time. She had her redemption. She had her second chance. But she also had a consequence that would last for years. Deline hated noise. She hated flashiness. She hated anything that disrupted her quiet, beige existence. Well, she was about to live next door to a retired Italian opera singer with a lead foot and a love for red wine and loud laughter. I walked into my house, humming an aria. Justice had been served. But the fun was just beginning.